Hey ladies, Tamikia TTC, welcome back. Okay, so it's 10:36 p.m. I look tired, I know. It's been a long day on this Friday. I was, pardon me, up late and I had to be at my endocrinologist's office this morning at 8:30 because I had my insulin pump education. So, I have my insulin pump. It's clipped to me. The pump part anyway. So here it is. This is the hose that's pumping my insulin. The insulin is like in here. So I just have this clipped. I'm going to show you real quick my cute little pregnancy shirt. So it looks like a plain black shirt here. Hook it up. Ugh. So you can see. See you soon. All right, so I got the shirt in a bigger size so I can wear it longer. We'll see. All right. I figured since I came in to talk about getting my insulin pump, which I probably should have shown you. Right now it's connected to my belly, right here, right? So it's inserted with a needle, and so I have like a little cannula that's under my skin, and so that's keeping it there. I do have to change that little thing every 2 days. Well, she said every other day. It's the same thing. Every other day. Basically, in pregnancy, they don't want anything foreign in your body longer than 48 hours. So, I just got it this morning. That means Sunday morning, I need to change it. Okay. So, other than that, it's actually pretty easy. I just have to keep track of the amount of insulin that's actually in the pump, and make sure that it's enough, because I don't know how much I mentioned about the kind of insulin that I was taking, but I was on two different kinds of insulin. One was a long acting insulin and one was a short acting insulin. So the pump only has the short acting. And when I say short acting, I mean fast. So the long acting insulin remains in your body about 16 hours, I think, in pregnant women. The fast acting insulin lasts about 2 hours, just enough to get you through a meal. So I would take the long acting insulin at night with a snack, and in the morning before breakfast. And then before each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, I would take a fast acting insulin. So now with the pump, it only will take the fast acting insulin. So I'm constantly being pumped fast acting insulin in place of my long acting insulin. If that makes sense. Okay. So I had the education. We set up all the settings and everything on the pump. And actually, she was texting me this evening, worried about my midnight dosage. I have like two different levels because my long acting was split between night and morning. So she had me reduce it, but she actually had me reduce both because when I ate dinner, which was a salad, which I think I mentioned before, I have found Subway chopped salads. They are like the best. But unfortunately, it didn't have any croutons, and I guess I didn't have enough carbohydrates in said salad. So when I took my insulin 1 hour after, my glucose was really low. Really low. So what can I say? I will say, though, I've been pretty good today. I've been really good today as far as my diet. I guess something about the pump being monitored, that kind of thing, makes you do a little better about the diet. So, but I feel like this meter, which this does not take my blood glucose, so I have a new meter here. That's this little guy, and then the little strips go in here, and then these are lancets, and then here's the little case of strips, and then here's the little lancet thing so I can poke myself to get the blood out. All right, so yeah, anyway, I feel like my numbers have been coming in a lot lower on this. So I don't know if that's because maybe my diet's just been a little better today. So my numbers are actually lower, or if it's because of the way that I'm receiving the insulin and that's keeping my numbers good and low. I don't know. So to be on the safe side, we're going to keep the insulin that I'm constantly being pumped 24 hours a day to a low. And then the way, I guess sometimes the way these pumps work, you know, you enter how many carbohydrates you eat or whatever, and there's like a little wizard that determines how much insulin you should have for the meal. But we're not going to use the wizard because that would mean I would have to poke myself more. So I already poked myself with this thing 4 times a day. So fasting 1 hour after each meal, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So for a few days, I'll be doing before I go to bed as well. So it'll be 5 days, 5 times for a few days, but we'll see how it goes. And if I've also been waking up early in the middle of the night, and so I asked the diabetes educator about that, and if I should be checking my glucose. I don't have any signs. Ooh, okay, baby G. I don't. This is it's 11:45, so it's his time to move around and bounce. Also, because I had the low sugar reading, I had my uh, low sugar snack. My little, these are like Sour Patch Kids, but they call them Sour Blast Buddies. They're actually it says 36 grams of carbohydrates. That's the total carbohydrates, but it's got 28 grams of dietary fiber, which the fiber does not spike your blood glucose. But these, for some reason, still spiked mine because when I took it before I ate this, my glucose was sitting around 70 something. And then I just took it just now coming on here. It was like 136. So I probably ate too many. That was too many carbohydrates, but I was trying to bring my glucose up. So because of the dietary fiber, it's probably going to come down relatively quickly. Plus, I'm on the insulin, so that's probably going to come down. So that's okay. I'm okay with that. And then hopefully by morning, my fasting will be fine. All right, so this is, I'm just going to put this here so it's not dragging my shirt down. All right. So I figured while I was in here talking about the pump and uh, we're talking about diabetes and diabetes education, I would finally do that nice video on what I learned with my diabetes educator. So I should say that I don't actually have diabetes. What I've been told that I have is an insulin resistance, not diabetes. However, they're treated the same. They're treated the same. So my body makes a normal amount of insulin. It just completely ignores it. So my A1C tends to be high. That is the 3-month look back on how well my glucose is controlled. And then my glucose tends to be high. Now, prior to getting pregnant, without any real control, I was just barely into diabetic range. I think my A1C was like 6.3 or 6.4. That's me pretty much eating what I feel like eating. But I've been restricting carbs for a long time. You know, I was trying to lose weight, so I was doing keto. So that's all carb restricting as well, which probably contributed to me having a lower A1C, just not eating a lot of sweets. And I'm also not incredibly big on candy, cakes, and all that kind of stuff. So in general, my lifestyle is somewhat low carb. I don't really drink soda. I haven't drank soda in like a long time. Very seldomly do I drink soda. Most of what I drink would be like a sweet tea or lemonade, which is just as bad as soda, to be honest, from a sugar standpoint. Anyway, anyway, I was gifted a lovely electronic book from one of my sisters here who's been following me in the community. So that's this book here, Real Food for Gestational Diabetes. All right, she wanted to give me this book. So sweet of her. I believe her Instagram name is Life with Bree. I got that wrong, I'm gonna put that here. So thank you, sweetheart. Thank you so much. The book is really good at giving me suggestions for foods I can eat, um, foods I should probably avoid, and that kind of thing. It's also helped to enhance the education that I got from the Diabetes Educator, which my MFM sent me to a diabetes educator really quickly. Like after my first visit, I was told I needed to see the diabetes educator, and I think I saw her like the very next week. And I've been on insulin since being pregnant. So I've been on metformin for the longest time. Metformin wasn't really doing anything for me. I took it, it didn't have any side effects. I took it mainly to make my RA comfortable with the fact that my A1C was a little higher. I also think he thought it was going to help me lose weight. It didn't. So it did nothing for me. It did nothing for me. Thank goodness I had no side effects from it. And I just took it to make him happy. I was on a low dose of it anyway. I went to see my endocrinologist. He was all ready to put me on an insulin pen, but I was just like, is that safe in pregnancy? Because not really, I guess it wasn't insulin, but a medication. And none of those were really deemed safe in pregnancy, and I knew I was going into a transfer. So by the time I saw my endocrinologist again 4 weeks later, I was officially pregnant. So he couldn't put me on any of that because he was just like, oh, you'll take it now, and then when you get pregnant, you come off it. And I'm like, well, I'm about to go into a transfer like in the next week. So he just kept me on the metformin, and then by the time I saw him again, I was officially pregnant. So then we moved on to insulin. As a matter of fact, I went back to my primary care physician to get a new prescription for the metformin, and she said, well, you're pregnant now. Standard of care in pregnancy is insulin, not metformin. So she refused to even re-up that script. So I was off metformin for probably like a week and a half by the time I saw my endocrinologist, who then put me on the insulin. So I've been on insulin since very early in the pregnancy. And they sent me to the diabetes educator, who told me basically I have a carb target. So one of the things about pregnancy is you can't really restrict carbs. You need carbs. Restricting carbs puts you in like a ketonic state, which is acidic. It's acidic in your body. That acidity is not good for a baby. As a matter of fact, she said, if I find out that you're restricting carbs to keep your numbers down, I'm going to make you start using ketone strips. So, okay. So basically, the guidelines that she gave me, basically, I have to eat 6 meals a day. That's already too much for me because to be honest, I believe my insulin resistance is my own fault. It's years and years and years of teaching my body to ignore insulin just to keep me functioning, because I am so very well used to eating maybe 1 meal a day, and that one meal coming so late in the day, as late as like 9 p.m., right? Just don't ask. It's what happens. So maybe 1 meal a day, sometimes 2 meals a day, hardly ever 3 meals a day. Definitely no snacks. I'm not like a snacker, so I think that's one of the mistakes that my endocrinologist was making about the fact that I worked from home. He's like, oh, you're probably snacking all the time. And I'm like, no, no. And it's crazy. You know, you go to these doctors, you're overweight, they automatically assume you're just eating all the time. And that's really not the case with me. I eat almost never. So I have no metabolism, which is what makes it very difficult for me to lose weight, because I don't have a metabolism. And I'm heavier because of that. Now, that one meal that I do choose to eat when I do eat is probably not the healthiest meal either. So it is what it is, but it's not like I'm making up for the whole day. The number of calories that I consume, and I mean, even with working out, like, you know, walking or running in the mornings, I'm doing this on an empty stomach, and then I'm getting tied up with work. I get that tunnel vision where I'm not hungry, I'm not thirsty, I don't have to go to the bathroom This is a tunnel vision that I've had a good part of my adult life. And the day goes by and it's just like, oh crap, I haven't eaten this time to eat. So then now I'm just looking for something quickly because it's been so long since I've had my last meal. So that's what made intermittent fasting so easy for me, because I was just used to going so long without meals. But on the insulin, after becoming pregnant, I couldn't afford to go so long in between meals, and that was one of my problems. I was missing a meal, in technical terms, going too long without eating, and then my blood glucose would just tank. So I've been put on a continuous glucose monitor, a professional one, for a few days, and the endocrinologist was able to see this. And I think that's when he finally said, oh, so you missed a meal here. You see what your glucose did, or you were eating here. You see how level, it was. So that's one of the things that I learned, that I can't go but so long, especially on this insulin, without eating. So I have to eat something. So the 6 meals I'm supposed to eat: breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and 3 snacks. Okay, so within those meals, I have carbohydrate targets that I'm supposed to hit. So, and these are minimum targets, but I'm supposed to stay somewhere around the target. So for breakfast, 30 grams of carbs. For lunch and dinner, 45 grams of carbs. And then each snack, 15 grams of carbs. And she actually told me she'd rather me go over than under, because under, could put me in a hypoglycemic state. So as someone who's not used to eating so much, I can say that I'm pretty good at getting at least 3 meals a day in. Sometimes I get 3 meals in a snack, usually the bedtime snack, because I had to take the night medicine. I'm supposed to have carbohydrates with that. Or sometimes dinner is so late, I'm having dinner at the time that I'm supposed to be having my bedtime snack. So there is no bedtime snack. So at least the 3 meals, which is better than where I was. I do still have to work on getting a snack somewhere in the afternoon. Definitely like a mid-afternoon snack. I have to get something in. I can't have any fruit for breakfast or morning snack. And then I'm not allowed to eat cereal at all. And the other trick there is to have protein with each meal, because the protein helps your body slow down how fast you absorb the carbohydrate. So there's that. And this is probably why mine went up, because there is literally no protein in this snack. So that's why my glucose shut up. Also, if you're doing keto, or you're used to doing keto, or any other kind of low carb diet like Atkins or South Beach, you're probably used to counting net carbohydrates, which is total carbohydrates minus the fiber, the grams of fiber. I'm not allowed to count net. I have to use total. So even though this is a net, to a net 8 grams of carbs, I have to count this as 36 grams of carbs, not 8. So that sucks. But the good news is my daily diet consists of at least 165 grams of carbs a day, which is more carbs than I was allowing myself to have when I was restricting the carbs myself, which means I can have more of the things I love to eat, like bread, like fruit. So I can have watermelon again, albeit, and I can have grapes. Watermelon and grapes are like my biggest go-tos. Although I'm really only allowed to have like 8 grapes at a time, because I think like 8 grapes are like 15 grams of carbs. So I try to count those, but who eats just 8 grapes? I always go over. So it is what it is, but it could be worse. I'm not eating candy, right? It really could be worse. So the idea there is I have grits. You know, I can make a breakfast and have grits, eggs, and bacon. And as long as the amount of grits is within my carbohydrate um, target, I can have that. And so, I mean, when I was restricting carbs, it was like, I can't have grits. That's a carb, you know? So, in a lot of ways, I'm actually enjoying this diet a lot better than I was enjoying keto. I mean, keto wasn't particularly hard for me. The only thing is, you have to restrict carbs so much, and like on a regular diet, like a low fat diet, having a cheat meal doesn't really hurt you very much. But when you're in keto, having a cheat meal puts you out of ketosis, and it takes 3 days to get back. So on keto, you're really not allowed to cheat. Not allowed to cheat at all. If you're going to be on it, be on it. Pardon me, if you're off it, you're off it. But if you're on it, you got to be on it. That's the thing about keto. So my feeling about keto is that something I could do pardon me, most of the time, but not all the time. And so, but you know, having these more meals in a day, you know, 165 grams of carbs sounds like a lot, but it's really not that much. And I've been managing to lose weight, you know, on this pregnancy, kind of maintaining that. And I think that has a lot to do with me eating more, beefing up my metabolism. So my metabolism has caught up. So I do actually feel hungry when I don't eat now. And definitely baby G kicks. Now that I can feel him, he's like, hello, we hungry. Let's get us something to eat. And as a matter of fact, it's the only time I ever feel nauseous, when my stomach is empty. So it's the only time I ever feel sick. Other than that, I don't feel sick at all. So as long as I keep him fed, we're happy. We're happy, and he likes everything that I like. Again, no food aversions and all that great stuff. So we're all good there. So some of the important things that I've learned, you know, there are high sugar things, there are low sugar things. This book is very good at explaining what's really high in carbs, so grains, breads, pastas. Not saying you can't have them, but you got to read the labels. You just got to read the labels. Legumes, even though they're high in protein, they're not as bad as grains, but these are things that will spike your glucose higher. Fruit, of course, naturally occurring sugars, but will spike your glucose. So if you're trying to manage, if you have PCOS, you probably have some form of insulin resistance to go along with that. So you have to maintain, keep your glucose down. And it's also about keeping the baby healthy as well, because when your glucose is uncontrolled, your baby, when he or she starts to develop their own insulin, they're trying to control the amount of sugar that they're getting as well. And so they have little super duper small pancreases, and that's the organ that generates the insulin in your body, and you overrun their pancreas, so then they become insulin resistant and diabetic in the womb. So it's really important to keep the glucose at a normal level if you can. So I understand why my doctors are like on me, but I need them to like back off, because I am doing a lot better. It's a struggle, you know. I don't have like a regular schedule at work. Every single day is different, and it's hard for me to schedule a meal, like eat breakfast at 9, eat lunch at this time, eat snack at this time, you know, eat dinner at this time. And then they also want me to like walk for like 5 to 10 minutes after each meal. I'm trying to get meals in between meetings. To be honest, I'm scarfing them down just so I can speak, you know, because I lead meetings all day, and I can't be up there munching and crunching while I'm talking to these people too. So I need them to understand what I do for a living. Not saying I'm not trying to make these adjustments for my baby, because I am, but it's just they're like, oh, well, can we give you a note? And maybe, you know, they can ease up on your work. And I'm just like, yeah, my profession doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way at all. I mean, I am not like pressed. It's not like I have a manual labor type position. They can't put me on light duty. You know what I'm saying? I have these projects, we have these meetings. A lot of them are impromptu, a lot of them are emergency, because they're in the process of going live. Something's going wrong. They need to get it fixed so the schedule doesn't slip. All of this business is going on, and not to mention I have multiple projects with multiple project managers, and these project managers are not collaborating with each other to say, well, how much time of Tamika's do I have, and how much time of Tamika's do I have? Oh, Tamika has a free spot on her schedule, I'm gonna put a stick meeting there. It just is what it is. So i just I don't think they understand how my work operates, and I'm trying to get them to understand that, but they just see it as excuses, and it's really not an excuse. I do the best I can. There are many meetings where I'm in my kitchen making lunch, just to get something in, or if I'm in a position where I can say, hang on a second, let me grab some water, or hang on a second, let me grab this, hopefully you don't mind me, or if I can sit on mute and, eat something or have a snack. I'll even have, like for snacks, that's what I have here: pistachios, grape. They've got some carbohydrates, but they're pretty good in protein as well. But they're noisy. Gotta be on mute really to eat these because I'm cracking them and then I'm chewing on them. So I'll have that, or I'll have almonds, or I'll have sunflower seeds shelled already. So that all of that helps, but I have to be able to get to them, and then I have to be able to chew on them without sounding like I'm eating all the time. And most of my customers have no idea that I'm pregnant. I'm just going through the motions with them, and they don't know. And quite frankly, they don't care. They want to get their work done. They don't care that I'm pregnant and maybe can do this or maybe can do that. So it is what it is. They'll find out when I'm on maternity leave. So, it is what it is. And actually, really sweet. A sweet thing happened today. I was on a call with a customer, and I'd worked with them before in the past. And I didn't realize I kind of worked with them before in the past. I guess they were looking for me some years ago or something, and I wasn't around. And she said, how's your sister? And I said, my sister? And she said, yeah, I recall something going on with your sister, and you being a caretaker or something. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that was some years ago. Thank you. She passed away. It'll be 3 years this December. And, she was very apologetic. And I said, yes, thank you. She was in the hospital for like 6 months. And she lived in New Jersey. I live in Orlando. And families are complicated things, which is the nicest way I can put it. But I basically lived in New Jersey for about a year, so not just being there for my sister, but also being there for her daughter, who was young and needed to make this sort of transition into adulthood amongst all of this. So I spent a lot of time trying to do that. And so she was, very apologetic about my sister and all of that. She said, yeah, I remember, you know, working with you prior, and there was something going on. We were told that you had some kind of family thing going on. So it's nice that she remembered. But I just said, yeah, I was really close with my sister, and she's missed. She's very missed. She's missed every single day. Right, baby G, every single day. So, that was sweet. That was sweet. And I will say I see cardinals outside my house all the time. Um, all the time now. And maybe that's her hanging around during this pregnancy. It could be my dad too. My dad's passed. So it could be him, could be her, could be both. Kind of just hanging around, and I just, sometimes randomly I look out the bedroom window, there's a cardinal there, or I'm coming in the house in the front yard and the cardinal, flies out of nowhere, and comes in there. They're usually like winter time birds, but we don't have a real winter here. We do have a very short-lived winter, but it's certainly not these times. But the cardinals are around. They seem to be around all the time, so that's good. That's good. And it's nice. It's nice to see them. I always smile every time I see a cardinal. So, if you see a cardinal, that could be your loved one checking on you. So when you see one, just smile and think about your loved one who you've lost. Yep. So as far as that, that's pretty much it. So, 6 times a day, gotta eat something. Basically not going more than 2.5 or 3 hours without eating something, and minding the carbohydrate targets. Now, I have these carbohydrate targets. They're mainly because I'm on insulin. So if you are not on insulin, you would benefit greatly from the book, because the book is about how you can eat and not have to be on insulin, right? But it's also about knowing, checking your glucose levels, knowing what's normal for pregnancy, knowing what's high, identifying hypoglycemic episodes. That's when your glucose gets too low. Knowing hyperglycemic episodes, when your glucose is too high. And just, basic monitoring, and then foods that you can eat to control to perhaps maybe not even go on insulin at all. Now, the thing is, I had an established insulin resistance prior to becoming pregnant. So it was clear I was going to be on something. It was just a matter of when I went on it. So, like I said, my A1C prior to becoming pregnant was 6.4. The moment I got pregnant, I started noticing my fasting glucose shot up. Like, my fasting glucose is usually around like 116, 125, something like that. They're okay with that, knowing that I have the insulin resistance. They were okay with that being my fasted number. But it's like, as soon as I got pregnant, I don't know if it was the extra hormones, since I was on the progesterone and oil and all the estradiol, but my fasted numbers were like 200, over 200. They had never been that high. And so I knew something wasn't right. So it was important for me to get in front of someone to get that under control, and get it under control relatively quickly. Now, I'm going to be 23 weeks tomorrow, because I'm 22 weeks and 6 days today. And gestational diabetes typically kicks in somewhere between 24 and 28 weeks. So I'm actually approaching the time where my glucose may get completely off the charts, and they're expecting my need for insulin to go up dramatically. So now is as good a time as ever to be up on this here pump. So I know that there was a lot of back and forth that I talked about before, about being on the pump, having to stick myself 8 to 10 times a day. The pump people and my diabetes education people, they got on the phone, they worked it out. I'm not sticking myself any more than I was. Sometimes temporarily, but that was happening anyway. If they thought that my glucose was dropping overnight, I had to set an alarm, take my glucose between 2 and 3 a.m. That's a pain. Also, taking my glucose before I go to bed to make sure it's not too low, so that I don't have a hypoglycemic episode while in my sleep. So that's important as well. So they would ask me to do that for a temporary basis, not like permanent. So this is a new thing. It's something else they have to regulate, kind of get me stable on. So I am going to have to check a little bit more up front now, which I'm fine with, until, everything gets a little stable. And then, I'll take my numbers regularly, report them regularly, and then they'll make the adjustments. So basically, the only difference in having the pump versus not having the pump is I'm no longer sticking myself, 5 times a day to give myself insulin. That's in addition to the 4 times a day that I'm pricking my fingers to take my glucose check. So now I will stick myself once every 2 days to give myself medicine. The other good part about it is sometimes I'm on my way to get food out, and I intend to take the insulin before I leave the house, because I'm going to go through a drive-through, and I forget. So what that means is I have to get my food, bring it all the way back home, take my insulin, wait 10-15 minutes, then I can eat. By then, my drive-through food is cold. So the good news about the pump is the insulin's always with me. So I can give myself, if I leave the house and forget or whatever, I can give myself the medicine and then eat my food. So if I need to eat it in the car or something like that, I can do that. But I do also have to be more careful about not eating, which means I'm going to always have to have some sort of snack around, which I do keep Quest bars and Power bars around. They have a fair enough amount of carbohydrate in them, and they're very high in protein, so they're really really good, and then they taste good. I like the Quest bars. So I'll have to keep one in my purse at all times. And then, when I travel, I always pack in my backpack, my laptop backpack, snacks. Whether I eat them or not on the trip, I always have the snacks with me because I don't know if I'm going to go a long period of time without eating or not. So I've always done that. So now, being on the pump, I'm probably going to have to keep something with me, especially if I'm like out shopping or whatever, kind of keep me from doing something, eating something I'm not really supposed to eat or whatever. I'm probably still going to rebel every now and again, even with the pump. Doesn't mean I'm going to turn the pump up or turn the pump down or anything like that. I'm just going to do what I've been doing because it keeps me sane. It just keeps me sane. As long as, I maintain consistency, not perfection, I should be fine. I should be fine. So, if you have any additional questions, anything I haven't covered as far as gestational diabetes, what I learned with the diabetes educator, mostly about diet and how I should portion my carbohydrates with my meals, how often I should eat, all of that great stuff. In relation to my insulin, that's pretty much what I got from my diabetes educator. So, got to eat 6 times a day or as close to 6 as I can get. Got to make sure I have protein in every meal. I try to get a fat in there too, but I try to make at least, I want to say at least 20 grams of protein in every meal. I try to get with the carbohydrates. And that's where the Quest bars come in because they're like 22 grams of proteins. It's really good on the protein side. But occasionally I miss it, like tonight where I had that chopped salad. There were no croutons in it. It was spinach. There's some carbohydrates in it, but not nearly enough. I'm supposed to have 45 grams. That was basically like a keto meal. But I had Caesar salad dressing. There's some carbohydrates in that. I had cheese on it. There's some carbohydrates in that. And then the spinach itself has some carbohydrates, but apparently not enough. Either not enough or just my body is responding differently to the way I'm being administered the insulin now. And so my numbers have just been on the lower end all day. So, we'll work it out. So the educator who taught me how to use the pump today, I have her cell phone number. We've been communicating. Like I said, she reached out to me tonight and said they were just being a worry ward. They really wanted to reduce the plan for my insulin overnight. And then I was telling her about my dinner and having the low reading. And she was like, okay, for sure, drop it. As a matter of fact, drop both of them. And then we'll talk tomorrow. So she wants to make sure my fasting glucose, because that was one of the major issues with my long-acting insulin, is getting the right dose to bring my fasting glucose down. So we'll see what my fasting glucose looks like tomorrow morning and maybe make some adjustments. And I'll be working with her only because my diabetes educator through my MFM is not going to be back and available until Monday. So she wants to make sure that I have some support over the weekend, just to make sure I'm not kind of like out here alone, have questions or whatever. So that's that's where we are. So tomorrow morning, I take my little bumpy, I get on the scale, see where my weight is. Baby G is doing great. I'm finally starting to get a belly. Still doesn't look like a pregnant belly, but I definitely am a lot more distended. So people, especially when I'm sitting, people tend to think that I am showing a lot more. But I think it's just a food belly, to be honest. But I'll take it either way. I'll take it. And so Sunday morning, I just need to change this thing, which actually feels a little sore. But she said I could put it like in my arm and my thigh and my the love handle area, because as the baby gets bigger, I'm gonna have less fat in the front to stick that needle. Otherwise, I'll be sticking the needle into my uterus. That's not gonna be good, right? So I'll probably have to either go for my side or my thigh. I'll probably just go for my thigh. I got plenty of fat there for that to hang on. So, and I can actually detach myself from it as well. So, I don't get in the shower with this. I can actually detach this hose from me without taking out the cannula. It'll actually detach. I can detach from it and get in the shower. I think the insulin is pumped to me like, I think like every half hour or something like that, and I can stop it and resume it or whatever. But if I think I'm allowed. I know the book was saying to suggest that not to be off it for more than 1 hour in the day, but she's saying I'm not gonna. I don't have to stop it to get in the shower. I can just detach myself. I'm not gonna lose much insulin because it'll still continue to pump even whether I'm attached to it or not, um, while I'm in the shower. So what she's saying is, as long as my showers are not incredibly long, then I don't have to detach myself. Uh, I don't have to tell it to stop. I'm not going to lose that much insulin or whatever. So that's good to know, because I do want to get back to um, float therapy. I keep saying I'm going to go back to float therapy, but I do want to get back to float therapy, especially since my sleep has been so bad. I think float therapy will help with my sleep pattern quite a bit. So I wish I could have gone tonight, but that's okay. I didn't need to go tonight. I'm gonna try to go maybe next week. I'll try to find a day next week where I can go to float therapy and try to get some of that in. Yeah. Maybe a couple times next week, because I've got so many built up, and I think I'm going to start losing them if they hang around for too long. So, or I could maybe do like a 2 hour float instead of a 1 hour float. I'll call them, see what I have available, and start using that up. So we'll do that. And I've got a baby shower in 2 weeks. So I'll be on a plane. So it'll be my first time traveling with the pump, which apparently I can go through a metal detector, and this thing will not set off the metal detector. Now, I cannot, detach it and send it through the x-ray. The x-ray could damage it, so they don't want you to do that. If I got routinely chosen, which happens to me a lot, I would have to detach this to go through that, or I would just have to ask for the pat down, because I got this thing. You're just gonna have to pat me down. I can't go through the scanner, but I can go through a metal detector, and this will not set off a metal detector. So, because I don't have any metal in me, I have a plastic hose cannula in me. So it is what it is. So I am TSA pre-check, so I very rarely go through the scanner anymore. But it is what it is. I just have to learn to travel with this. I just have to be mindful of my supplies because I have to change this every 2 days. It only holds so much insulin, so I have to make sure I bring my insulin with me and all of that good stuff too. So there's that. So this video has gotten a little long, but I just wanted to make sure I covered everything, about the pump, about my diabetes education. If there are any questions, anything that I missed, just hit me down in the comments. I'll come back to you. I'll answer them the best of my ability. If there are a lot of super duper questions that are like crazy important that I just kind of left out of here because I didn't really prepare for this video, I kind of just came on, I'll do a follow-up video and talk about that stuff, or maybe even a live. We'll see how that goes. All right, ladies, Stiggy baby, that's to all those TTC. Bye.